come to let's celebrate and appreciate our volunteers. It's next month, but we're doing the planning this month. This is always a gift, and it's our way of celebrating and thanking all of you that work with volunteers. Is obviously from Bill Highway and Mariner Management. Sarah is putting in the face for Bill Highway, and Peggy's putting in the face for Mariner today. But we are always about being here for building the community. I got to do a plug real quickly before we get full in. You all love Beth Z. Everybody give me a reaction if you love Beth Z. If you don't know Beth Z, then we're going to have to introduce you to Beth Z. So Beth Z is the best tech guru I know. She knows everything about tech, and she's going to join us next month to lead a webinar on getting your leaders on board with new tech. And then anybody here coming to MMC? Put in chat if you're coming to MMC. Anybody? If you're not, that's okay. But if you are, do plan to stop by to What Do CEOs, Membership, and Members Think of Chapters. That's going to be hosted by Bill Highway and Mariner as one of the programs. All right, volunteers. So one of the really cool things that Mariner is doing right now is we have been hired by the ASAE Foundation to do the latest research on volunteers. One of the things that we just wrapped up a staff survey, which went to members of ASAE to ask questions about their volunteer programs. We next month are fielding a study to association volunteers. So you still have an opportunity if you'd like your volunteers to be surveyed as part of this industry-wide survey. You just contact me afterwards and I'll get you in the loop for that. We handle everything. We protect your data, send the survey out, and then give you back your results in comparison to the whole. Why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because we can't talk about associations. We can't get our work done if we don't make sure that we've got the right volunteers in the right positions ready to go, and that we have a wonderful deep pool of volunteers just waiting to get into that right position. Volunteers, they are truly the heartbeat of the work that we do. So it's natural for that research is going to give us some good data. It's natural for us to begin to ask questions around what has changed in volunteering and how the way it's changed. How do we have to change? Part of how we have to change is to authentically reward, recognize, and I'm going to put a capital SUPPORT, support our volunteers. Now, obviously, the theme today is National Volunteer Week, which is April 17th to the 23rd, 22. You can go online and you can get a raft of ideas and suggestions from National Volunteer Week. We're going to give you ones you won't find online. Now, I'm going to ask us to practice what we preach. And I'm going to ask you to do two things for me. The first thing is I want you to light up the chat with a shout out to a top chapter or national volunteer. I want you to put their name in chat. See, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to curate this list of incredible names, and I'm going to do a shout out on LinkedIn, which can be shared by all of you, thanking folks in the field that make our associations powerful. So all I need you to do is in chat, put the person's name that you'd like to recognize. Maybe it's a first name only, maybe it's a first name, last name. Choose to put the chapter or the organization, if you will, and do put your acronym there as well. The idea here is, and Linda, I love it. Yes, getting us started right from the beginning. What we're going to do is just say, here's a sampling of the people that are behind the success, the energy, the work that we do. So you put it in chat and I'm in charge of doing the next part for you. All right. So you do that. And then meanwhile, while we're talking, see if you can find a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard or something. about halfway through, we're going to pause the screen, the slide deck. We're going to go to full gallery view. And when we go to full gallery view, I'm going to ask you to put up a sign that either says, "Thank you, volunteers. My volunteers rock. Volunteers are the best ever." We're going to put those signs up, and we're going to take screen grabs, and we're going to also have those. So all you need is like a piece of paper and write it down here. No paper, don't worry. You're going to put your thumbs up or use your smile face or whatever you want when we get to that. All right. We're going to celebrate the very people that we say are important to us. All right. All right. I am going to pause the slide deck right now. Sarah's going to throw you all into some rooms, because one of the reasons why we're here as an idea swap is for us to meet each other individually. We're going to throw you into some really small rooms. It's going to be a rapid fire round robin. Just introduce yourself so that next, when we come back into the main room, you're looking at some of these faces and you say, I had a great conversation with Rachel or Terry, and man, she's doing X and I'm going to steal with it. So you're going to have, I think we're going to get about 4 people in a room or 3 people in a room, Sarah. So each take about 1.5 to 2 minutes. Just say your name, say anything that comes to the top of your head. Maybe you can say, I'm going to celebrate by doing X. Whatever you want to do, this is an opportunity for you to meet a couple of other people, because after all, we got breakout rooms. We're not in a webinar, right, Sarah?
Right.
So Sarah's ready to go. I'll meet you back here. We're going to give you only about 5 3/4 minutes. Okay? Sarah, hit
All right. Here we go.
Felicia's back. Austin's back. Kelly's back. Love it. Austin, where are you from?
Peggy, I work in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. And here comes Haley and Becky. Becky, we haven't seen Becky in a while. Like, glad to see that she's still alive and well. Look at that. There she is.
It's been a bit of a ride, Peggy.
I hope the ride was.
No.
Oh, well, we'll talk later.
Okay.
We're gonna make you smile today. That's our idea here. That's our goal. Hi, Karen. Carrie, good jobs. All right, guys, I left the slide up that says get a shout out for one of your top chapter leaders. So in case a couple of people jumped in the rooms as we were going out, and I want to make sure you know what we're doing. We're going to curate a list of names that you give us during this in chat and do a big shout out on LinkedIn and say that these are some of the incredible folks that make a difference in us meeting our members' needs and moving our mission. So you can, throughout this, put that name in. But let's get started. We have got an agenda, as I mentioned. The idea here is to find a way that we can thank, celebrate, and support volunteers. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to put this in actually 4 buckets. So we're going to talk first just about some ideas of personally thanking. Then we're going to talk about ways to show some recognition. We're going to offer up support ideas, and we're going to talk a little bit about experience. Now, this is not Peggy talking. As I mentioned at the beginning, we've curated some ideas. Our goal now is to curate some fresher ideas and to get some additional things on this particular list. So there will be a blog, and Sarah can share that link to. There's a blog that has that has most of these links on it. And the slide deck will come to you with lots and lots of links in it. So we're not going to read all of these slides, but we want to get some popcorn popping here. So let's talk first about personally thanking, because most volunteers tell us in all surveys we do, oh, I just need a thank you. I just need a thank you. And thank yous cannot be underestimated. So here's a couple of new ways for some of us. Maybe there's some older, enduring ways for others that you could use to thank volunteers personally. So we ran into this idea. Actually, it came to us. It's a Jib Jab card. Maybe many of you have seen this, but there's been some associations that have been using this in a really fun and enduring way. Then we suggest, how about handwritten notes? Now, here's the thing with handwritten notes. there's some kind of clever ways to go about the handwritten notes now, including this idea of handwritten, which is a robot that actually holds an actual pen and allows you to put out more than you could. But there's also some cool links about how to write the perfect volunteer thank you, words to use, and maybe just this idea of what is the anatomy of a really good thank you note. Now, I kind of like this one myself, which is I've seen RAPs do this, for example, and I've seen a number of associations do this. On my YouTube page, you will see a category called associations, and I got a number of examples of how associations have thanked their volunteers. But I just really love when we can shout it from the rooftop, shout it from the rooftops. I know I can speak. Now, some people, and we actually had a question about this, how do I give a gift? So if you've got a very large core of volunteers, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, right? So here's a couple of things that we saw. One was do a drawing for a gift basket. So create a couple of gift baskets and do a fun drawing, and everybody gets some kind of a special thank you card, but then you give a bigger gift to that. So it's not like you're picking only one volunteer or you're picking a volunteer that's well known. You could actually pick a volunteer that had been very quiet. Of course, you can always give away a merch. But what I loved, and this is actually a gift that I got from a vendor, which is really fabulous, but it is a reusable straw. So also think about the eco-friendly gifts in a gift box that NIGP did for all of its chapter leaders. Love this. Now they had they got this from a vendor, but they had a touchless thermometer that went in every box to everyone. And it said, you know, you're going to be going back to in-person events. Maybe this could be useful, right? So I kept mine. I didn't use it for an in-person event, so it became a personal gift. But there's lots of ways to do a special gift. But don't underestimate the power of the freebies. As a volunteer for ASAE, I don't get this, but I will tell you the thing that they could give me that I would honestly volunteer hours and hours for is give me a free registration to one of your conferences. I mean, think about this. The variable cost on that is not that much, right? And Peggy would be like, woohoo, right? So think about those kinds of things. Is there a conference fee that you can waive? Could you raffle off a free year of membership? Now, we did that with one of the chapters that I manage here. We routinely give away a free year of membership because, quite frankly, it's not that much money, and it's a thank you gift that makes difference. Now, I love number 3, and I saw this in action. So there was a chapter, and they did this, the front seats, which were the best seats at their awards banquet, went to volunteers. They were raffled off to volunteers, free dibs on a session sign up, or those hard to get seats, right? Awesome way to do this. It doesn't cost you money, but it has the power of an incredible thank you. So here's some Jib Jab examples in case you needed them. I love this. What if you did say like, you're totally an all-star, thank you. Anyway, just some fun, just give it a try. So my question is to you, and you can go ahead and throw this in chat, or feel free to go off mic and jump in with a quick idea. How would you thank volunteers? So this is this idea of just a way of saying thank you. One person, in fact, asked, they have volunteers spread out all over the globe. How do you do something with a large, diverse number at a small cost? And I see Jane shaking her head because Jane is the one to put that in there. So Jane is particularly looking for ideas for giving an actual gift to volunteers. So Jane, obviously a discount coupon or, you know, something like that would be good. But if you really wanted to do a smaller gift, an e-coupon is going to maybe be a great way of doing it because you can send those electronically. But any other ideas, please, please, please throw that into chat. Anyone else? Any other ideas that you guys have seen that would work? Oh, yes, I agree. Sometimes, Lisa Marie, we send the thank you notes to the person that we want to thank. But remembering they had to say no, or they had to juggle, right? So sending that thank you to the employer or sending that thank you to the family is priceless. In fact, the president, I saw this one time. I was at an association leadership, and the outgoing president's gift was a ticket and some travel for he and his wife. Vacation. That's right. Now, that was a large association. I realize that's kind of harder for some of us to do, but there are little ways that we can do that. Yes, and Austin, you are going to be, you're mirroring something that we have coming up in a slide deck. That is awesome. Okay, so Monica's asking, we're looking for e-coupons it would only pay for if redeemed. Does that model exist? Anybody know of any e-coupons that you only pay for if they're redeemed? I can tell you, I don't have the box here. We snack box, I think it's SNAXBOX, I believe it is. You send that out to every volunteer. So we had a volunteer meeting. They sent out the snack box to everyone. You open it up and it has a dollar amount. And I filled my snack box based on the value allowed it. And I could add money to my snack box if I wanted. If I didn't order anything, then the organization didn't get paid for, didn't get charged. So it might be a service like that, where you have to actually place the order, and what the organization is doing, they're guaranteeing that any orders that come in, that they will pay up to $45, or I forget what it was. It was amazing. Oh, does Grubhub? Oh yeah, Grubhub is that way, Michelle. Absolutely, you're right, because you send out Grubhub coupons and then it expires. That's perfect. Yes. Thank you for that. See, and by the way, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this. She is out of the country, so I don't know what time it is, but she's probably should be asleep right now, but she's here with us. Thank you, Michelle, to answer a very important question. All right. Let's talk about recognition. So one of the interesting things about recognition is it can be more powerful even than a thank you, because a lot of people, when we ask people, like, why are you volunteering, in large part they will say because, well, they want to be seen, or they want to be known, or they want to have something attributed to them. They want to feel like they've made a difference, and that difference is recognized. So recognizing is a powerful thing for us to do. We're going to leverage right here. We already told you the power of social media. And matter of fact, get your signs ready. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning, you need a piece of paper, and I want you to write a message, either a thank you, my volunteers, or my volunteers rock, or love my volunteers. We're going to do a quick, take the slides down, full gallery view. All of you put your signs up, and we're going to do a social media message. Power of social media to help people feel appreciated is incredible. And one of the things I talk to people a lot is go ahead and do a recommendation on LinkedIn. If your people are LinkedIn people, you should be doing a recommendation on LinkedIn. Think tech tools. There are so many ways for us using tech tools to be able to recognize our volunteers. Now, Austin's already doing, I think, the virtual Zine Tunes. And so, Austin, where do you have yours that you can throw up right now, or is that an idea that you're thinking about? And I won't put you on the spot.
I don't have one now, but something I thought about.
Well, I think you should do it and share it with all of us. I think it's a great idea. Now, don't forget that Bonusly is a great app that allows you to do peer-to-peer recognition. How about just upping your communications? I saw this, you see this in a lot of C3 organizations, a local hero section. Do you have a local hero section in your newsletter, or better yet, your website, right? Do you spotlight incredible volunteers? And when I say incredible, I mean somebody who's given you some time and some talent. How about spicing up your meetings? Now, you know the ribbons. I worked with the diabetes educators. They did this really cool button, lapel pin. It was about that big. If you were one of their local leaders, you got this. And it said, I'm trying to remember what the exact thing was. I think it was volunteers helping members. Those became a hot commodity. People loved having those. which is a little bit more than a ribbon. And of course, many of the other things you probably have already thought of. But one of the things that I found that is really, is the appreciation is lunch is good. But how about doing special tables in your regular lunch? Like all the volunteers get the front tables. And finally, someone's already mentioned this, and I love it, is those messages to your employer. And I love this last one. I know this sounds funny, but some of you have really good relationships, particularly if you're a trade association, you know the company owners. Is there a way that you can help a volunteer get an afternoon off or get an opportunity to get an hour or two off? Can you have some kind of a free pass at work? Now, in the C3, this works all the time. We've actually done that here with one of our chapter organizations. We've just done it twice, so I wouldn't say it's a regular thing that we do, but we've called the employer, and in one case we called the employer and we said, so-and-so has been really valuable to us and we want to give them tickets to a museum, and if we do that, can this person have the afternoon off? And we got a thumbs up. So I don't know, maybe try it, might work for you. All right. What other ways do you recognize volunteers? Now, this is where there's some audience participation here. I know for a fact a number of you have ways that you're recognizing. You either have a webinar, you have a link on your website, you have a sample of a thank you card. Throw those in right now into chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to take the slideshow down. I'm going to ask you to get ready. We're going to do our social media recognition. Are you all ready? I hope I'm not the only one in the room here. All right. I'm going to show. Let's go. All right. If your video's not on, turn it on if you can with your sign. If you can't turn it on, get your thumbs up going. Here we go.
Oh.
Sarah's in charge. She's going to get this. Look at all these pretty signs. Give me a thumbs up if you don't have a sign. Just give me a thumbs up so we can see all the beautiful thumbs up. Woohoo! There we go. Look at this. Come on, Lori, your team, all thumbs up. We want to see all your thumbs up. There we go. All right, let's get these going. Woohoo! Oh, Becky, put that up. Oh my gosh, Tammy, I love yours. Tara, good, excellent. Anna, love it, love it. Elsie, love it. Oh, Lisa Marie, that's great. I love it. Did you get it, Sarah?
One more. Hold on one
All right,
second.
one
Sorry.
more.
My screenshot tool is slow. Or it's not working. Hold on. Here we go. All right. This is it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whenever it decides to load. Sorry, Peggy. My computer's having a little meltdown. Here we go. All right.
It's okay. We're good. We know
I
how
got
to
it.
hold poses.
Perfect. We're good. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Awesome, guys. Great job. Great job. All right. Let me pull this back up again. We will share that with you so that you are ready to go. All righty. Hang on one second. Whoops. Da-da-da. Got to rearrange some things here. There we go. Stop share. There we go. All right. All right. Back in the biz now. Back in the biz. All right. So anybody else have an, oh, you gave personalized Mickey ears to volunteers? That is awesome. That's more than awesome. I love that. I love that. So put in there any gift cards to volunteers. I love it. Go ahead, give me some really good ideas that you guys are doing as you look at ways to recognize volunteers. Come on, we're looking to really build our list here. Apple cookies and candy company goodies. I love that. Oh, they were reasonably priced. I didn't know anything from Disney was reasonably priced. I shouldn't say that out loud. I'm delighted to hear that. Okay, keep those ideas coming. Let's go to offering support. Now, this is one that I kind of, if you've been around me, you've heard me tell you over and over again that one of the things that volunteers ask for, in fact, it's top of their list, is what I would call some more of the intrinsic appreciations and thank yous. What they're saying to us is, it's great to get a certificate. It's great to get a shout out. It's awesome to get a thank you, but many of them are volunteering because they want to make a difference or learn a skill. And so it's the support that helps them be valuable, effective volunteers, that helps them create a really good experience. Sometimes we spend so much time thinking about what gift do we give them. We forget that the biggest gift we can give them are the resources, the tools, and the work that makes a difference. And so this is perhaps the most important bucket in my mind. And it is, I think, the one that maybe sometimes we underestimate. So what I want to suggest to you is start simple with those all important personal phone calls. What I'm talking about here is that we sometimes guess what our volunteers need or want. I'm talking about getting more personal, getting on the phone, having a conversation. What do you need? And then coming back to that. And then actually delivering what they're asking for. So one of the cool things I think that works really nicely is maybe not have you do all the calls, right? What if you had your comm team, someone from your comm department do a couple of calls, because they might pick up some really cool things, right? What if you had someone from, I don't know, let's just say finance, who's always asking you, why do those chapters cost us so much money? Well, have them do some of the calls and say, well, what do you need? How can I help? What is it that we're doing that works for you? So have staff chip in. And I just think that that's going to make a tremendous difference when we actually take the time. Now, a large part of supporting volunteers is supporting staff. You may think this is a weird one for me to put in the middle of this list. We're here, hopefully, to support all of you. So this is a mantra that Bill Highway and Mariner live, is this notion of your volunteers will be as effective as you are effective. Part of what allows you to be present for your volunteers is when you have the skills and the support. So I always suggest, I do a lot of staff liaison training, and I always suggest that we do as much effort and energy in thanking and supporting our staff. So maybe you could get some additional help if you were able to think about this. How do I lift up some of the staff that has helped? How do I, for example, in my chapter leader letter, how do I go ahead and say, here's a staff person spotlight. Mary has done XYZ for the chapters. Atta girl from Mary. How do we support, lift up, and thank our staff liaisons that make our jobs easier, because then we feel more supported. Here's a big one. What chapter tools are you making available to your your volunteers and your leaders? So I would be remiss if I didn't suggest to you that you could reduce administrative burdens with tools like Bill Highway's chapter management solution. And there are other tools, but understand that probably the best thing we can do for our volunteers is not make them do jobs and tasks that are mind-numbing, or jobs and tasks that require them to spend a lot of time figuring something out or checking boxes. How do we make their jobs as easy as possible? There are so many tools out there. I mean, we're just going to throw out Bill Highway right here, but there are many, many tools out there that would make a tremendous difference for your volunteers. And I don't remember who it was, Sarah, but we were talking, we have to go back and look at this in one of our past webinars. We had somebody who was talking about how they took their quote unquote checklist, created, I believe it was a Google Doc, but it was filled in like, we know you have this, this, and this. Just tell us what's changed. Think about the power of that. Tell us what's changed. Don't fill this form. How many of you have been to a doctor's office and they give you that form and you give them the same information you gave them before, right? So how do we alleviate that burden? Now, I'm going to tell you, we have a link in here for better tech tools, but more importantly, we have a link here for coming to the upcoming tech is going to be, where all things tech is going to be our April conversation. All right. How about a robust resource library? A robust resource library. Okay, so what I want to ask you, and I want you to do this in chat or someone jump up. What's in your resource library? All of us have chapter libraries. What's the most unique thing you have in your chapter library? Go ahead, put it in chat or jump off mute. What's the most effective, or no, the most interesting thing that you have in there? So I know a lot of you have, for example, you probably archived training webinars. Have any of you taken some of your old webinars and chopped them down into smaller webinars? Like, you know how you have a webinar on tech tools, for example, like how do I use this and how do I use that? Have you broken it down to say, how do I use X? I love that, Lori. Officer tutorials, newsletter archives, great. Now, Sharon, nothing interesting, but compliance information. But, you know, we could make compliance information fun, couldn't we? What if you did Doodly and you created a compliance thing and you made it fun? Like, here's all the things you wish you didn't have to know, but we need you to know, right? All of a sudden, it makes it something that people will watch. Jane, is that a video by any chance you could share? I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Yes, and Lisa Marie's asking, Haley, can you please share your safe meeting resources? That would be awesome. Anything that you've got would be great. So I love this, Lori, she's mentioning state-specific note cards. So we had a webinar, last year, I think, Sarah, where we had someone talk about one of the online programs they have, and they put in all their logos and all their templates, and any state could go in and order their own cards, their own newsletter templates. Awesome. We'll find out what that tech tool was. I think it could be in that blog post that she said. Oh, Jane, thank you. And Lisa Marie, thank you. Or Haley, thank you. This is awesome. Keep coming, guys. You know, stealing other ideas is actually the greatest form of flattery, right? All right. The robust resource library is, I just want to tell you, it makes all the difference in the world. But one of the things that we have learned with one of my very favorite clients, we're doing chapter coaching, is that we do need to remind them. And so we're having these coaching calls and we're reminding them where to go. But the cool thing is, on every one of those calls, the CRP is just going, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link, because she has it all up there. So have the library and have the links ready. Now, my last thing I'm going to suggest in this thing is level up your training. Did you know that you can go to LinkedIn Learning and you can create a learning cohort, right? A set of specific modules that you'd like your volunteers to know. So you don't have to even create a lot of stuff. Maybe you just create a LinkedIn Learning account that allows that you can then allow to have access. Maybe what you do is you give, remember we talked about how do you thank? What if there's a master class? Because there's a number of master classes now that are wonderful and they're always running specials. What if you got a subscription for a cohort of volunteers and tested that out? What if you went to your folks that have that wonderful snazzy LMS and you said, hey, can I do a couple of tutorials on some key officer trainings, like how do I read a financial statement or how do I lead an effective meeting? Because they could also sell that beyond that to the members, right? So maybe you go and you get a couple of LMS things. By the way, RAPS has done that, did a beautiful job with that. NIGP has done that. They're developing stuff in their LMS. And those are all free to volunteers, but it gets the volunteers into the LMS. They see how cool the LMS is for learning, and then they buy other programming. So if your LMS, if your education department is trying to figure out how to get more members to buy education, give them some cool freebies. So great idea of like that. The other thing is create, you guys, I don't know how many of you use TurboTax or some equivalent of that, right? So the question I have for you is, can you create a TurboTax kind of setup for, say, for example, a report that you need them to have on a regular basis? That's leveling up your training because it creates an on-demand, quick, this is how I get this done. And if I put this in and the answer is wrong, it says, are you sure you want to do that answer? By the way, you can use SurveyMonkey to a certain degree like this, because there's a lot of ways that you can put some qualifiers on questions that help people be able to give you the answers that you need. So take a look at that. And then finally, I don't think our volunteers understand that some of the jobs we're asking them to do is actually professional development. So for example, when a treasurer really learns how to read a financial statement and learns how to create a reserve policy and learns how to create a budget that actually is a solid budget, they've just built all those finance skills. What if we were giving them badges for that? What if we were saying, you know what, these volunteer jobs are mini education sessions, so we're going to reward that. We're going to let you know that, right? Maybe what we need to do is not sell, you know, how do I want to say this? Sell the volunteering as professional development, right? But you're going to have to show something on the other side as you do that. So let me ask this question. What other ways have you supported volunteers? Are there any other things that you have done? I don't know, Kelly, did you see okay, good. And she's going to sell them with all of us, I'm sure, because Kelly's that kind of person. And she knows I'll just email her and go, hey, can you sell them? Oh my gosh, Linda. Okay, so Linda and Kelly, we are going to have to get together with you and do a webinar with you guys, okay? And Linda, you just need to let us know your timeline on that. I think everybody would love to see that. Oh, Karina, you have wisdom, serious wisdom. Before you start, I'm going to paraphrase this. Before you start saying what I'm going to take off the plate, find out if it's a need or a want. Tremendous, because we could spend a lot of time putting tech in that's not tech that is really needed. And so that, I think that's pretty cool. And you know, the other part of that, Karina, you didn't say this, but if something is if a need, how do we help them see it as a want if they're not expressing it yet? In other words, we know volunteers don't like to change systems. And let's say you put let's just say you put a Bill Highway chapter management solution system in, and they had to change their way of doing, say, finances, or say their way of doing data. And they're like going, no. Well, how can you take what you know is a need that they haven't expressed, which is to be able to streamline all of that? How can you voice that as a want? Well, I'm going to suggest that if you come to the April meeting, that's one of the things that I love what Beth Z is going to talk about. Yes. Jedi Master. Yes. Yes. So Lori, I love that annual leadership conference paid for by. So a lot of people struggle with, do we charge for that event or do we make that free? I love that you do that. And I don't want to put you in, a tough spot, but I love at some point, I think that that's an ROI question that many of us struggle with. So maybe you can mention, like, how do you justify that? Maybe you could just share, like, what's the rationale? And I'll suggest that Lisa Marie says that we offer cover travel expenses for them to attend our council meetings twice a year. You know, this is an ROI thing. So if you guys have got some examples of how you are helping to demonstrate the value of doing that. And you know what, I think that one thing that might be interesting is for us to go to our CFOs and say, listen, I know this is an expense item, but this is the value of the work that they're bringing in that I'm not paying for. Or I know this is an expense item, but we have to thank volunteers and I'm going to need this much budget to thank them. Isn't it just as good if I use this budget to bring them together where we can have a good conversation and get them all on the same page with us? I mean, I think there are ways to weigh that. So if you figured out a rationale, go ahead and share that with us, please. And also, I saw a note, I think this was from Lori, that you guys had staff call all volunteers to thank them. And you said in the note to me, okay, it was to Sarah, but she sent it to me. You said each staff member called about 10 volunteers. The calls were well received. Staff members who don't normally speak with our members were a bit apprehensive, but enjoyed speaking with them. Lori, did you give them a script?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit of one. I mean, we prepared them and we said, you know, we want you to start with thanking them for volunteering for the association, and then just get into a small conversation with them. Just learn something about them as well. Don't make it long. But yeah, we divided absolutely everyone from the national board, you know, down to the person who just sits on one little committee. And everybody in our office called about 10 people during that week last year.
That is awesome. So let me ask a follow-up question. What did you do to debrief that? Did you ask them to give you notes? Did you have a follow-up meeting? Did you just do it informally? I'd love to know. So if somebody wants to try that, how did you debrief it? Did you learn anything in that debrief?
Probably just through conversations with people, maybe at the staff meeting afterwards. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, the staff meeting afterwards, we talked about it, and our CEO asked people, you know, did anybody have anything to share? You know, we had one poor soul with, you know, the volunteer hung up on him, which wasn't very nice. You know, that will happen. But the other ones were all just like, yeah, it was great to talk to people that, you know, we never talked to. And they found that they had a couple things in common or something like that. Everybody was pretty much very appreciative of getting the phone call.
That sounds super exciting. I love that. And now that we have this on tape, what else would you add? Because we're gonna make you a star.
Well, I will say it was exciting for those of us that are comfortable picking up a phone and calling people. We had plenty of people in our office who were very, very uncomfortable with that. And so if you're going to do it, you could try to find ways to maybe have someone who's uncomfortable sit by someone who's very comfortable, which is something we didn't do because of course we were all COVID remote. Yeah. But if you could help those people who are, you know, not used to being on the phone all the time, not used to talking to your members, that would probably be a very good idea to get them going. And then once they get going, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Nice. Oh, I love that. Thank you for that tip, because, you know, you're right. We do have some folks that would be an awkward thing, but it could be a real valuable for them. Can you all give Lori and her team a big round of applause for sharing that? And while we're applauding, I love, Elizabeth, you mentioned in here a member care month where every member gets a thank you call. I think that is like priceless as well. What month is that? Oh, you were off mute and you went back on. Here we go. Oh. You got it. Go.
Okay, we are doing this in May, and it's from the top down. The board, senior volunteers call the next level of volunteers, chapter leaders get a call, and they call all of their members. We have scripts for them. If they get a voicemail, we have an email template that they can put in, so we make it as simple as possible. And it just says thank you. And what has been very rewarding over the last, started this, well, I've done it at every association I've been at, But we started this when the lockdown started with COVID in
Mhm.
March of, so we did it in April of 2020. And people felt so isolated. So sometimes it was, I mean, they really wanted to have a conversation with you. They wanted to have somebody to listen, and they were very appreciative.
Nice, nice. Guys, there are so, see, these things are doable. If Elizabeth has done this at every association she's been at, then you just need to tap her and say, get on the phone with her and say, what else do I need to know? Great. I am going to take us to the last slide in our remaining minutes here together. And yes, I saw someone said, would you, are we going to get chat? Yes. This is the beautiful thing about what the Bill Highway Mariner model is. You are part of the production team here, so you reap all of the rewards of the chat, of the video, of the slide deck, and anything else we can do for you. I wanted to mention this last one, and I knew that we would be tight on time to be able to mention all of these things, but I wanted to mention this last slide because at the end of the day, people volunteer to be with people, even if they're volunteering virtually, even if they're doing a small micro job, it is a connection point. And if we can create the experience, people will come back. So there's lots of ways. The most incredible thank you gift I got was when I did something for the Chamber of Commerce as a volunteer. They took a picture of me in action, and there was, back then, you would turn that picture into an envelope. They turned it into an envelope and sent me a thank you note. It's that kind of experience where I have a good experience and then you capture it for me and give it back to me to remember. It's this says make it personal. And what I'm really saying about make it personal is to give back that reminder of that experience. If you haven't done send a frame, if you haven't done the create a poem, if you haven't had a celebrity cameo, these are all ways for you to make it personal. If you create a memorable event, one of the things I was doing a session at a conference, and they had a volunteer lounge where you could go in, put your feet up. This is just for volunteers. Now, I know that CAI does something like that. You do like a chapter lounge, which is very cool also. It is, you go in and you see your peeps, and there's this whole experience in that room. Does it take a little bit? Yes. Can you get sponsors for it? Absolutely. Now, what I really love is one of these ideas was there's a group that holds for their it's a revolving kind of virtual event. Sometimes it's lunch, sometimes it's a happy hour. And then we heard about this book club. And Kiki Latalia does a very vibrant book club as well. Just add a little gift card and you've made that experience really incredible. One of the things that we often suggest is if you want to make it personal, do something that's going to hit them right where it counts. Reimbursing mileage or discount fees are going to make a big difference. And finally, I want to mention reinforce the purpose. Look at the second bullet item, show their impact. One of the things that RAPS did was show how many hours of education chapters put on, right? They also showed what was the impact of all of the work that was done. And then my last suggestion for you for the day is listen. Be open to hearing what your volunteers are saying. Respect their ideas and put their ideas into action. So 20 ideas and another 20 or 30 in the chat gives you, I am sure, some great starting points for how are you going to celebrate volunteers next month and actually all of the 11 months coming from that. So I'm going to wrap us up. You're going to get everything. You still have the opportunity, though. On the 19th, we're going to be together with Beth Z. I'm hoping that you'll be there. Don't forget, you can still download the 2022 chapter performance and benchmarking report. The MMC session is going to be a little bit about that. And of course, you can always reach out to Bill Highway or Mariner because gosh, we are here for you. There's no questions about that. And my final thing is thank you for all the work that you do in helping volunteers be the best that they can be. Anything we can do for you, it's our gift, it's our opportunity, and we really appreciate you being a part of this community. We'll see you next month and we'll talk to you anytime in between. Have a great rest of the Wednesday.